Good afternoon, and I'm glad that you found time to be with us this afternoon. The show is Diaspora Dispatches, and I'm going to bring you the latest news from across the continent of Africa. So, without wasting a lot of your time, let's just get into it. A very good morning, good evening, depending on where you're tuned in and watching us from. We start with the latest news on the Africa Leaders US Summit that I think is concluding today. U.S. President Joe Biden has announced billions of dollars in new funding for Africa at a summit of dozens of heads of state in Washington. And he also spoke optimistically of improved links with Africa during a summit in which he announced 55 billion US dollars in a new funding for the continent over the next 3 years. This included 100 million US dollars for clean energy projects. He told the gathering in Washington that when Africa succeeded, so too did the United States. Mr. Biden spoke of the importance of good governance, healthy populations, and affordable energy. The summit of heads of state is seen as an attempt by America to reassert its influence in Africa at a time where China, Russia, and Turkey are deepening their involvement in its first such gathering hosted by Washington for 8 years. The head of the United Nations Public Health Body has accused Eritrean troops of killing his uncle in Ethiopia's war-torn Tigray region. Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus of the World Health Organization said he was told more than 50 other people were arbitrarily killed in the same village. Eritrea has so far made no public comments on the accusation. Speaking at a Wednesday's World Health Organization briefing in Geneva on the latest COVID-19 issues, Dr. Tedros said that on Saturday he was informed that his uncle was murdered by the Eritrean army. And still staying with matters Ethiopia, dozens of members of Ethiopia's federal parliament from Oromia have urged the government to hold talks with the banned rebel group to resolve the security crisis in the region. Oromo Liberation Army, OLA, has been proscribed as a terrorist group. In the past 5 years, rebel attacks and confrontations with the military have made areas in western and southern parts of the populous region insecure and also uninhabitable. OLA has carried out attacks in Oromia and neighboring Amara region, sparking revenge attacks. In a letter to Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, the 80 lawmakers urged his government to end the insecurity. Recent violence has forced tens of thousands of residents in Horu, Guduru, and East Wolega in western Oromia out of their homes. Pressure is growing on the government to agree on a peace deal with OLA, similar to the one reached with the rebels in the northern Tigray region. We head over to the southern African country, and opposition leaders in South Africa say they will change a vote in parliament that rejected an impeachment inquiry against President Cyril Ramaphosa. He easily survived Tuesday's vote in the National Assembly that could have initiated proceedings to remove him from office. Mr. Ramaphosa is accused of concealing the theft of a large amount of money from his firm but denies any wrongdoing. The African Transformation Movement described the decision not to be investigated the president as irrational and said it would appeal to the High Court in Cape Town on Monday. The opposition Democratic Alliance said it was weighing its legal and parliamentary options. Mr. Ramaphosa is now in a stronger position to be re-elected as ANC president and at his party's conference, which starts on Friday. And the bodies of 27 migrants believed to have died of thirst have been found in the Chadian desert, the United Nations Migration Agency said on Tuesday. According to reports, the migrants reportedly left Mosoro, a crossroads town in west-central Chad, 17 months ago in a pickup truck. The IOM said in a statement, it is believed the truck got lost in the deep desert, broke down due to mechanical issues, and the migrants died of thirst, said the migration organization affiliated with the United Nations. The bodies of 27 migrants believed to have died of thirst have been found there. According to the reports, the migrants reportedly left. It is believed the truck got lost in the deep desert and had issues, and so they suffered from thirst and I think also lack of food there. And then some news from Ghana. President of Ghana, Nana Akufo, has urged African countries to stop begging from the West in order to earn global respect and change poor perceptions about the continent. Mr. Akufo urged greater solidarity among Africans to address shared aspirations. He made these remarks on the day that the International Monetary Fund agreed to give Ghana $3 billion a loan to alleviate an unprecedented economic downturn in the West African country. Already burdened by high debt, Ghana is facing historic inflation of more than 40% and a collapse in the value of its currency. The steady and economic difficulties exacerbated since the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Nearly 50 African leaders and delegates are in Washington, D.C. for a key summit hosted by President Biden. It is the centerpiece of a major effort to reset and improve U.S. ties with Africa countries whose relations with China and increasingly Russia have drawn scrutiny. The latest from the Democratic Republic of Congo, the M23 rebel group has said that it on Monday met with officials of the Democratic Republic of Congo Army FARDC, the United Nations Stabilization Mission in Congo MONUSCO, the enlarged Joint Regional Verification Mechanism EJVM, and the East African Regional Force EACRF in readiness for peace talks. This was revealed in a communication signed by M23 spokesperson Lawrence Kanyuka. It added that discussions between the M23 and the various delegates of these organizations took place in a calm climate and that the M23 was waiting for the next meeting to be held. Neither the military nor the political authorities in Kinshasa have confirmed this information or denied it. Officials in Kinshasa had set conditions for eventually launching talks with the M23, which has been excluded from all discussions with Kinshasa since April this year. There has been a truce on the war fronts in North Kivu, but the violence in the region has not completely stopped. The M23 accuses the DRC forces of targeting the Tutsi communities, while the Congolese government has also accused the rebel group of having massacred nearly 300 civilians in the territory of Rutshuru in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. And still staying with that story, Rwandan President Paul Kagame on Wednesday shrugged off a soaring death toll in the Democratic Republic of Congo's east, distancing his nation from mounting bloodshed on Rwanda's doorsteps. And President Paul Kagame told an audience offsite from the U.S.-Africa Summit in Washington that the problem was not created by Rwanda and it is not a Rwandan problem and that it is a Congolese problem. A preliminary investigation by the UN mission in DRC Congo found that 131 men, women and children were shot dead or hacked to death late last month as part of reprisals against the civilian population by M23 rebels. Now, the insurgency is widely believed to be armed and supported by Rwanda, but Kagame disavowed any link to the group's actions. Democratic Republic of Congo's President Felix Tshisekedi said on Tuesday in a meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken that his country was a victim of an aggression which is hidden, but it is from Rwanda, and this has been destabilizing the country. The Democratic Republic of Congo President has asked U.S. President Joe Biden to put pressure on Rwanda in order to stop its support to the M23 rebels. The two presidents spoke at a bilateral meeting during the ongoing U.S.-African Summit in Washington. The U.S. has previously called on Rwanda to stop its support to the M23, while Kigali has continuously denied links with the rebels. And speaking at an African Exchange forum on the sidelines of the summit, Rwanda President also added that there isn't anybody who is going to come from anywhere, I'm just quoting him, to bully us into something to do with our lives. In the U.S., the presidents of Burundi, Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda, and Angola met to discuss the Eastern Democratic of Congo security situation, which Tshisekedi did not attend, and the presidents met to review the implementation of Luanda and Nairobi agreements, meetings that are taking resolutions on the conflict. The Rwandan presidency also reported it came as the M23 rebels held their first press conference in Bunagana town in eastern DRC, which they have controlled since June. And of course, they denied killing in Kishise and Bambo. The UN forces in the DR Congo has said more than 130 people were killed. Okay, so we head over to Somalia. Somalia's Prime Minister Hamza Abdi Barre on Wednesday visited Addo, a town in Middle Shabelle region about 220 kilometers north of Mogadishu, which was recently liberated from the jihadist group Al-Shabaab. The town had been under control of Al-Shabaab militants for about 15 years until an allied force comprising of units of the Somali National Army (SNA) and local volunteer vigilantes, commonly known as Mo Awisle, liberated it in November. Prime Minister Barre was received by President of Hirshabelle, his deputy Ali Abdullahi Goodlawe, SNA officers, and local community elders. Hirshabelle is one of the federal member states of the federal government of Somalia that comprises of Hiran and Middle Shabelle regions. Head over to Nigeria, and today the country will introduce into circulation its new currency in the first such to redesign in 20 years. The authorities say the measure is meant to address insecurity, tackle counterfeiting, and force excess cash back into the banking system. Nigeria's central bank had said more than 80% of the money in circulation was being hoarded by individuals. It has urged people to take their old Naira notes to commercial banks for replacement. And 31st January deadline has been set by which Nigerians have to trade in the old banknotes. Many Nigerians say the government should have focused more on other measures to tackle soaring inflation in Africa's largest economy instead of redesigning the banknotes. The policy is likely to hit politicians who might be planning to use cash to bribe voters in Nigeria's elections, a common campaign strategy in the country. The elections are due in February. The release of the new notes comes barely 3 weeks before another change comes into effect, the limiting of cash withdrawals from banks to $225 a week for individuals and $1,200 for corporate bodies. And still staying in Nigeria, following the 5-day sit-at-home order that has led to the killing of many residents in the southeast recently, Nigerians are now signing a petition appealing to the Finnish government, Nigerian government, and the European Union to arrest Simon Ekpa, the brain behind the order. As one of the time of filing, getting this report, about 2,761 people on Thursday had signed the petition seeking for Ekpa's arrest. It is Akpa, I think. So Akpa, a self-acclaimed a follower of the leader of indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, in a viral video, ordered the people of the southeast to observe a sit-at-home from December 9th to 14th, an order that has been marked by bloodshed and destruction of lives and properties in the region by its enforcers. Although IPOB, through its media and publicity secretary Emma Powerful, denied ever issuing any sit-at-home order on the days mentioned above, violence have continued to reign in that region. And the United States had sanctioned Burundi's former Prime Minister Alain Guillaume Bunyoni for allegedly committing human rights violations in his country. Section 7031C provides that in cases where there is credible information that officials of foreign governments have been involved in significant corruption or a gross violation of human rights, the individual and their immediate family members are generally ineligible for entry into the United States and must be either publicly or privately designated. Rights groups in Burundi accused the former prime minister of involvement in gross human rights violations, especially in 2015 when a political crisis erupted in the country. Mr. Bunyoni served as a minister for internal security during the late former president Pierre Nkurunziza's regime. More than 1,000 people lost their lives while hundreds of thousands fled the country after Nkurunziza vied for a third term in the office, which the opposition said violated the country's constitution on term limits. In September this year, President Evariste Ndayishimiye sacked Mr. Bunyoni as Prime Minister after publicly voicing his dissatisfaction about some top government officials who he thought were untouchable. So that is the latest news from the continent of Africa. You are now up to date. A very good afternoon to you. The story of Burundi, it's I think I'll just create a topic by itself to highlight some of the information that I've shared there in line with this former prime minister. Burundi has gone through a lot, some turmoil faces in the country for a lengthy period of time. I know when you think about insecurity and instability, perhaps what comes a lot to mind is the Rwanda genocide that happened in 1994, and then Central African Republic, the DRC. But Burundi has had its own share of these instabilities and internal interstate violence that still continue. Walk in the streets of Nairobi and you'll be surprised how many young men especially are here that are still running away from their villages where they feel unsafe. And the attempted coup that happened in 2015 when President now late Pierre Nkurunziza insisted on running for an illegal third term just made matters worse. And also their conflict is deeply rooted in ethnic balkanization between also Tutsis and Hutus. So I will just leave that there for right now, but I promise I'll come back some other time and then I will give us the details. So now this story from Nigeria about Simon Akpa. I think that's how you say his name, Simon Akpa, because we've heard him on this channel a few times. And apparently he gave an order, sit-at-home order, which is not the first time I'm hearing it. We have heard cases of sit-at-home orders being given by the IPOB leadership, but this time he gave it. And so a section of Nigerians all over the world are now signing a petition appealing to the Finnish government. I think he's in Finland, for them to, to be appealing to the Finnish government. Someone Akpa, is he in Finland? So Nigerians across the world are appealing to the Finnish government, the Nigerian government, and the European Union to arrest Simon Akpa, saying that he is the brain behind the seat at home, and they're saying the seat at home has been marked with a lot of bloodshed and destruction of lives and properties in the region by its enforcers. So the people who are supposed to enforce this order by Simon Akpa from these regions, apparently they do it with so much force that people get hurt and properties get destroyed. So I thought this sit-at-home order is supposed to be a peaceful, protest or something like that. Like you mind your business, whatever, like that's what I thought it was. But apparently, for those who refuse to follow these orders in this region, according to the report, the people who, I don't know if they're members of the IPOB, who enforce this order, they do it in such a manner that, causes harm and some human rights abuses. So, I think a few of you from them could be watching me, so you could tell me what this is about. And so there is an order to arrest. And I think by the time I was looking at this story about 2 hours ago, about 2,761 people had already signed this petition. So knowing the population of Nigeria, the most populous country in the continent, matter of fact, followed by Ethiopia, with a population of, 2 million plus. So this is a very small number. So I'd like to see by tomorrow how many people would have signed this petition. But apparently a petition has been signed. Akpa, a self-acclaimed follower of the leader of indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, in a viral video is said to have ordered the people of the Southeast to observe a sit-at-home from December 9th and 14th. So the sit-at-home ended yesterday. So if you know anything about this order, can you please enlighten me and what happened? These atrocities that are said to have been committed and the bloodshed and destruction of property, do you know anything about it? But IPOB, through its media and publicity secretary Emma Powerful, denied ever issuing sit-at-home orders. So if IPOB, because we know a lot of reports from the IPOB, you get it from its media and publicity secretary Emma, and he's saying the organization that did not issue such a sit-at-home. So where so what powers did Akpa have to issue, such a sit-at-home order? So I guess IPOB is distancing themselves from Simon. You know what? Let me know And also let me know the situation with the Nnamdi Kanu. I think he's still under custody, I believe. Despite the ruling by the court, he's still being held by Nigerian authorities. But anyway, the new currency in Nigeria started its circulation today. How does that money look like? And the authorities say the measures meant to address insecurity, tackle counterfeiting, and force excess cash back into the banking system. And I can see that many Nigerians are really opposed to this move. And they say the government should have focused more on other measures to tackle soaring inflation in Africa's largest economy instead of redesigning the banknotes. Well, I understand where they're coming from, but I also understand perhaps why the government of Nigeria felt this was the best move to curb the issue of money holding by individuals. Can you imagine over 80% of Nigerians' currency is not in formal financial institutions? So you get the money, you keep it in your home. So I don't know, you do table banking. I don't know how you keep it. And a lot of this money is not able to be accounted for. So now you have until the end of January, I believe, to turn in your old notes for you to now you'll be forced to bank. You'll be forced to bank your money, and so that you can get the new currency. So the government is just trying to control the circulation of money in Nigeria. So I can understand from that perspective, and that will help in addressing the issue of insecurity, because a lot of these people who are funding these groups that are causing insecurity in Nigeria, probably they have this money is hoarded in their homes. So the government is saying this will help in addressing the issues of insecurity. Maybe partly. The issue of insecurity is just a lack of leadership and a proper, security apparatus in Nigeria. So I don't know if this new these notes new currency will help solve that. Just a part of it, a little bit, and tackle counterfeiting and force excess cash back into the banking system. Yeah. So anyway, people are not excited about that, and. Okay. All right. So Nicholas Chiamaro, I'll just read what you just wrote here. You're saying, ask those Nigerians that are signing petition, how many times have they signed petition of Fulani terrorist government killing, raping, and banning your people and come in Biafra land? Okay. Good. I'm sure if they're watching, then they will respond to your question. They will respond to the question that you just posed there. But Nicholas, while you're at it, could you tell me about this new currency and how you feel about it? And now it will force people to turn in the money that they've been holding. As I said, there over 80% of Nigerians notes and money cannot be traced in any formal financial institution. So this is the government trying to just control the financial sector there. I don't know how you feel about that. Something else, I don't have much time though, but this new sentiment by President Paul Kagame about he's saying the problem that is going on in the Democratic Republic of Congo was not created by Rwanda, and is not a Rwandan problem. It is a Congolese problem. So keep bringing Rwanda's name into it. And I think I was reading it from another, let me see if I could get it, from another platform. And what he said, I think, caught my attention. He said, I cannot be responsible for Congolese of Rwandan descent in Congo who are being denied their rights as citizens. So clearly that line is that is really telling, and I think we've talked about this before, and the President of Rwanda's position as far as this conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo is concerned. But he also added that he said that there isn't anybody, I'm quoting him, there isn't anybody who is going to come from anywhere to bully us into something to do with ourselves. This is after United States also, insisted on, again, Blinken also insisted again on Rwanda on calling on Rwanda to stop supporting the M23 rebels. So US has been consistent with telling of Rwanda as far as the M23 rebels are concerned, but Rwanda has also been consistent with refuting claims that it is supporting this group. And, there was a meeting on the side of this summit. The presidents of Burundi, Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda, and Angola met to discuss the Eastern DR, security situation. And guess what? Democratic Republic of Congo's President Felix Tshisekedi was not interested. He did not attend. I guess he just does not want to be in the same room with his Rwanda counterpart, Paul Kagame. So anyway, the UN says that more than 400,000 people have fled their homes since the fighting between M23 and the army resumed in March. A relative calm has been observed since the end of last week. So that is some good news there, but still very disturbing. I don't know if we'll ever see the end of this conflict. But the reason why it's taking longer as it is because, as we have said here, the main causes of this conflict are not being addressed. So that is something that they might want to consider looking at. But also some interesting developing information about this story is that the M23 rebels were able to meet very important groups. On Monday, they met guess what? The DR Congo, the FARDC. They also met the United Nations Stabilization Mission in Congo, that is MONUSCO, and they also met the Enlarged Joint Regional Verification Mechanism, EJVM, and they also met the East African Regional Forces. Basically, everybody that was mandated to fight them, the M23 met with them. So that is a good diplomatic development, and they are saying that they are ready to have peace talks. That's a very good move. And they also added, through their spokesperson Lawrence Kanyuka, that discussions between M23 and various delegates of these organizations that are mentioned there took place in a calm environment for the next meeting. So they're waiting for the next meeting to be held. But funny, the Democratic Republic of Congo's government have not said anything about this meeting, because we know the DRC has been very adamant about not wanting M23 on the table for any kind of negotiation. And all the rebels were in Nairobi having these peace talks that were concluded last week, but M23 was never invited to the table. But now that the forces in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the army, official army, met, this is something that perhaps the government should make open. So those tensions that we see, especially against certain communities in the DRC, maybe could come down. So why would the government of the DRC not want to make this meeting public? President Tshisekedi, as much as we are pointing fingers at Rwanda, and you've been consistent with accusing Rwanda, you're also failing on your part. And I think you're supposed to take some responsibility. You have a huge part that you've been accused of playing. Your government has been accused of supporting the FLDR rebels, and your government has never refuted those claims. So the assumption is there could be a possibility that you were supporting these rebels. And now this is a very important development, but you are mum about it. Are your intentions really to finding peace? Yesterday, this leadership was meeting there. You were not present. As much as you don't want to have anything, you're annoyed at President Paul Kagame of Rwanda, but it is in the best interest. Now, if everybody else took their time out of their busy schedule, attending that summit in the US and sat down, and all these countries are interested and vested in finding peace in the Democratic Republic of Congo, but he chose not to respect their time that they gave to sit there and try to continue mediating. As much as you don't agree with President Paul Kagame, and I understand your position, I'm trying to understand your position, but still, out of respect and out of just goodwill and out of just being a statesman, you should have respected other heads of state from this region and the Angolan president, Lourenço, who was also present, who saw it fit to sit down and do a follow-up and see how is this process going out of concern. But you chose that since Paul Kagame was also president of Rwanda, so you're not going to sit there. Sometimes as a leader, you have to make decisions that are for the good of your country. That would have been perhaps a good space to address some of the things. I know there's a lot going on between your country and Rwanda, but for you not to have agreed to sit down with these leaders from this region and these leaders who have given their time to solve this crisis, I think that was not in good faith. So I don't know what that is supposed to solve anyway. And let me just do this very quickly. Dozens of members of Ethiopian Federal Parliament from Oromia have urged the government to hold talks with the banned rebel group to resolve the security crisis. So, but you know, the government of Ethiopia has said that OLA is a terrorist group. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, that is the same thing you said about TPLF. But did that not stop you from sitting down with them and through a mediation process, and you were able to, your government and that side was able to hammer things out, and now we are seeing the mediation process going on well? Did you not at least find some resolution moving forward? What is so difficult with sitting down with OLA and listen to them? You might not agree with whatever it is that they are saying, but sometimes just sitting down and listening to each other can cut that problem by half. But you insisting, Prime Minister, you insisting on this position. If you had just listened, perhaps at the beginning, if your government did not take that very strong position, that unnecessary 2 years war that happened, that claimed so many lives, that destroyed so many properties and wasted a lot of resources for your country, would have been averted. So why do we want to see another crisis morph here? I'm not supporting the OLA. I'm not saying they're right in even how in manner in which they choose to go about fighting and causing insecurity, and the manner in which your government is responding to. I said this here a couple of days ago, and I'll repeat again here this afternoon. Prime Minister, it will cost you nothing. Sometimes just listen. That is just part of being a good leader. Hard stance is not necessary sometimes. Give them a hearing. You might not agree with what they're saying. You might feel some of the grievances are not legitimate. Could you just hear them out? These are your people. These are your people. They're not fighting to secede. These are Ethiopians who feel aggrieved in whatever ways they feel aggrieved, or they have some disquiet over certain issues. I don't know. But it will be prudent on your part. This will avert unnecessary conflict. So I support the position of these members of parliament from that region. Talk to your people, sir. Talk to your people. Mediation, conversations, sometimes they go a long way in averting unnecessary problems. So I think I support the position of these 80 lawmakers in them urging Prime Minister and his government to talk to the OLA so that they're able to end the insecurity. Okay? All right. So I think I'll stop there for right now. I want to thank you so much. And I will be back here, God willing, tomorrow with more. Nicholas just saying the same people that is changing the money is the same people that is stealing. Nigeria is a failed state waiting to collapse. So what is the solution? I guess, I don't know. Nigerians will have to decide for themselves, even as they're ready to go to their polls next year in February. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Diaspora Dispatches. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye for now.